Hello. As you guys know, one of the unfortunate things about doing remote lessons is that we cannot really demonstrate any sort of partnering to you. So, I wanted to make this video to illustrate and show you a little bit of partnering. And what I want to focus on here is the idea that, well, first of all, this is the step we'll look at. This is a right lunge. So with that in mind, what I want to focus on is this concept right here, that if you draw a line along the spine, all the way down through the pants zipper, you should have a nice straight line. And if you draw the belt line, it should make a nice right angle. These should be perpendicular. And this is pretty much always going to be the case in syllabus. And as you get better, the only change is instead of having a straight line, you can have a nice smooth curve, but the belt should still pretty much always be more or less perpendicular. You shouldn't ever have anything sharp like that, and you shouldn't have anything crooked like that. And so what I want to show you guys is as they do the right lunge, this is something, I have a couple of things I want to point out for how they maintain that. So, first of all, here, notice he has a very extreme curvature in his spine, and again, at syllabus levels, don't even try for that. Just keep a keep your spine and your zipper aligned. But they're professionals, they can do this stuff. But notice that they still have a continuous curve. And the other thing I want to point out is that notice that this hip and this hip, he's not just bending at the waist, he's actually angling his hips as well, so that even when there's this curve, these stay pretty close to that 9-degree angle. Now, as they continue, he straightens up, continues to straighten up, and notice, now he's very much vertical. And again, spine through his zipper, look at his belt, you get that nice 90-degree angle. And now here is where where you often see issues at syllabus level, with syllabus level dancers or with low-level open dancers. As they continue the right lunge, they shape, and what usually happens is people tend to only shape with the upper body and neglect to shape through the hips also. And what we see with him is we have the spine. Notice we continue through the zipper, and notice that as he's shaped his upper body, he has lifted up his left hip so that he can maintain this right angle. He does not leave this hip flat. He even comes up onto his toe in order to get this hip higher so that he can create this shape. And this is what allows good dancers to create that extreme shape. Not that because they're very flexible in their upper body, but because they coordinate it with their center, with their hip, so it's all aligned. Now, obviously, people on team aren't really going to be doing shapes like this for the most part, except maybe at showcases. But this principle applies to pretty much everything. I mostly chose shaping because you hold that position long enough, and while still changing and moving through other positions, that's a nice way to illustrate this. But this isn't just a tilting thing, this is also a rotation thing. As you turn into natural turns, reverse turns, double reverse turns, spin turns, we have that same idea, but just with a little bit of a rotational aspect. So I'd like to illustrate this just by showing a couple other figures. And this is just another performance by this same couple. And I'm just going to pause this video periodically here. So unfortunately, this is a bit smaller. It's harder to see. But again, right away, he has that tilt, and he has a little bit of a tilt in his belt. Not as much as, but again, they're professionals. They don't have to match perfectly. They can have their spine curved. You're still going to have that 90 degrees there, where the hips are. And again, as he tilts the other way, notice this hip comes up. It's not just shaping through the spine. It's not just shaping through the arms and torso. He gets his entire body involved in the shaping. And all those parts, when they're moving, again, this one's an angle that's a bit harder to see. But notice that his hip is going up as he goes. Not only that, but something that's a little bit harder to see is that his right side is a little bit closer to her than his left side. He's got some rotation in there. And his right hip will also be rotated forward a little bit. The rotation in his hips for the shaping, it's not just coming, the lead in the shaping is not just coming from his upper body, it's through his entire body. And all this tilting, all this shaping, again, haven't actually looked at, but just I can almost guarantee, pretty much guarantee you, all those shapes, all those tiltings, all that bending, he's always keeping his belt and his spine perpendicular. Now there's one more part I want to get through. So here, unfortunately, he's wearing black on black. They're a bit farther away. It's hard to tell how his hip is oriented. But I also do want you to look at this part right here and what comes up after this. So first of all, throwaway oversway, very common for upper syllabus, lower open levels. A lot of people, they rotate their top towards their partner. They don't rotate their hips enough. And the lead comes only from the top, not from the whole body. And again, the lead for shaping needs to come from the entire body. Here, all this rotation here, what you really notice is what he's doing and how he's moving the upper body. What you don't necessarily notice right away is, and it's not always easy to see here because again, it is black on black, but how he is also rotating his hips along with it. Now again, his hips don't move as the same amount as his upper body because, again, he is at the level where things can curve. For him, if he bends his upper body this much, his hips only need to bend this much. If going the other way, if he bends his upper body this much, his hips only need to bend this much. Okay, that one did it. Whereas at syllabus level, at our level, whatever amount we bend the upper body, we should bend the lower body the same amount. Because for us, at this point, we're trying to keep it straight. We're not trying to do that curve. We want to get this cross. That is what's important for shaping, for stability, for partnering, and for leading. And the same thing goes for the follows, but I'm lead, so, I point things out from the lead's perspective.